a summary of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Why it should be built, why it should not be stopped, who has to gain from this, who has to lose from this, who's benefiting, why are people protesting, what's going on, what do you need to know. Hope to cover all of that in this video. The Dakota Access Pipeline is a project to put in an oil pipeline that will move oil from the Bakken shale oil fields to Illinois. It's an absolutely critical part of our nation's infrastructure that we are already doing. There are over 2 million miles of pipeline in the U.S. already, of various sorts. There is also a pipeline, coincidentally, virtually right next to where they want to put in the Dakota Access Pipeline. Pipeline's already in this area. The Standing Rock Tribe, for example, heats virtually all of their homes using natural gas, some of which is brought in by pipeline. They also have an electrical pipeline running across an electrical utilities. Sorry, it has a conduit for utilities. But basically a pipe with electrical wires in it that they have to dig under the ground. All this stuff is already in place. There's also a pipeline already crossing the river at this location, built in the 1980s, of which there was seemingly no protest. And these 2 million plus miles of pipeline that we have in the country are what allow you to have heat. They are what allow you to have electricity. They're what allow you to have gas for your vehicle. It's what allows you to run your computer that you are using, or your iPhone, or your Android, or whatever that you're using to get on YouTube and watch this presentation. All of these things are made possible by fossil fuels. And while alternative energy is a nice technology area to investigate that we are currently making some progress on, it's important to understand that it's not just stupid old corrupt people in the way of things like solar and wind. The problem with solar and wind instead of oil is that it requires batteries, something that a lot of green activists seem to ignore and not think about. Batteries. Batteries. Sometimes it's not sunny. Sometimes it's not windy. Sometimes a cloud comes out. Sometimes the wind dies for a second. In these instances, this is when you need batteries. And yes, bigger batteries operate the same way your AA's in your TV remote do. They go bad. They have to be thrown away, replaced, right? And batteries scale up in size and weight and cost for the amount of energy you want to store in them. And I have personally worked with large photovoltaic batteries, enough where you can run a house on solar energy. And it's nice to work with that. It's very interesting technology. But these batteries, these huge batteries, take 2 very strong men to lift. They weigh hundreds of pounds apiece. And this is just for one solar system for one small house. We had like 8 of these multiple 100-pound batteries. And technology gets a little bit better every year, and we kind of improve. But it's not huge, unbelievable exponential growth with batteries. I really hope we make some breakthroughs. But right now, battery technology is very crude. And where do we get the materials for batteries? Where does this stuff come from? From trees? From soybeans? No. Unfortunately, no. We haven't really figured out how to do a gigantic soybean battery just yet. Where we're getting the stuff for the batteries is from deep down in the bowels of Mother Earth, where we have men dig with giant machines running on fossil fuels to create these giant holes in the earth with which we can then extract minerals that we need to make these batteries. And that, my friends, is something that I doubt 1 in 100 people at the Dakota Access Standing Rock Pipeline protest are thinking about. Okay? Because fossil fuels literally fuel our society right now. And if we are able to invent any kind of revolutionary new battery technology that enables us to harness the sun and wind energy consistently and efficiently enough to fuel our society, if we are able to do that, it will only come on the back of fossil fuels, okay? And basically, I'm telling you, we have made all the progress we've made in society up to this point off these incredible fuel sources. And before fossil fuels, it was whale oil. I want you guys to look forward to a presentation that I'm planning, hopefully for the next month or so, perhaps next month or two, on how we have completely and wrongly lost respect for the extremely brave, productive men who went out in tiny little wooden boats to kill the largest beasts on the planet so that we might have some light and some fuel and some heat for our cities and our industries. Because this is what allows us to have such an amazing world full of so much rich technology and education and opportunity. All of the unbelievable opportunity you have now. The books that you can read. The wealth of information you have access to in the palm of your hand and your cell phone. All of this we can thank the whalers for, the miners for, the hard-working men who brought us energy. And that is why we have to build the pipeline. But if it's not enough to convince you that alternative energy is not a solution, I'd like to cover a couple more arguments as well. And to me, one of the most shocking ones that people don't know, that I think is an incredibly good argument, is fact. Transporting oil by pipeline is significantly safer and significantly more environmentally friendly than transporting it by alternative methods. Do you even know what the alternative methods are, by the way? Do the people at Standing Rock even know what the alternative methods are? Sadly, I don't know that many of them do. Let me tell you. The alternative to the pipeline is not, oh, we'll just not use oil, man, and we'll all just heat these North Dakota winters with like love and happiness. Oh, no, 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 no. The alternative to the pipeline is still using the oil. We're still going to use the oil. Trust me, right? Because despite some people in society wanting to bitch and whine about how oil is just so bad, they really do like their fucking iPhones, don't they? And the iPhone, spoiler alert, was not produced with fucking soybean and farts, okay? So, the alternatives to the pipeline, truck and rail transport of oil. Because the transport's got to happen, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen by putting the oil in tanker cars, which are going to be put on railroad tracks, or it's going to happen by putting it in big semi-trucks, okay, full of oil. And I probably shouldn't have to show you the study to tell you. We should just be able to use common sense and say, yeah, train and truck transport is a lot more dangerous. And yes, the studies confirm it. Significantly more dangerous. Significantly more oil is spilled per barrel transported when you're looking at rail and truck. More oil spilled. I don't know how you can get around that. I don't know how you can get around that. You guys are you trying to be water protectors? You're worried about the quality of the water? The oil has to come across the Missouri River one way or another, okay? Gotta be done. It's a big river. We can't go around it. It's just not feasible. It's going across the river, okay? Somebody's water is going to be potentially in danger of oil. It's just life. And maybe you guys have heard the argument or seen the article that makes a big deal out of the fact that originally the pipeline had briefly considered a route north of Bismarck, a large town a bit north of the Standing Rock site. And the reasons they did not go north of Bismarck were numerous, but the ridiculous claim that some of these articles make is, well, this is Bismarck town full of white people. They didn't have a problem quashing the pipeline because they didn't want it in their drinking water. Just give it to the Indians, huh? Fucking racist. Racism is terrible. All right, that's kind of the take that a lot of these things seem to get out of it. But when you actually look into it, and not a lot of the articles provide this information, you look into it, you see that really, and again, multiple reasons, but the reasons that they did not put the pipeline north of Bismarck included things as 24 additional streams, waterways, and estuaries that the pipeline would have to cross going north of Bismarck. There's actually a lot of small waterways, rivers, and streams in that area, and yet 24 additional crossings if it went north of Bismarck. It's also a longer, more costly route. And yeah, a larger number of people will have their water affected if the pipeline breaks. White people. Oh, jeez. So, is it racism involved? Doesn't seem so to me, right? There's multiple government organizations who are all involved in this, not just the pipeline company making these decisions. It's everyone's input involved. And do you want the oil coming across the river to be in a semi-truck? To be on a train? Well, no. According to the studies, you really, really don't. Operator error, for one thing, is quite dangerous, and the amount of oil spilled is more. Now, just to kind of counter what I would call some almost fake news, the worst type of news is not the fake news that's entirely fake, because that can be picked out easily. It's the news that has just one kind of very selective fact with not a lot of other facts and no supporting context, and without presenting a bigger picture. That's worse than fake news to me. And a good example is an article some of you might have seen that came out in the last few months and was recirculated a lot about how pipelines spill the most oil. Pipelines spill the most oil. It's the worst. Why are we doing this? And there's a tiny nugget of truth there in that when a pipeline does break, in that little isolated instance, more oil tends to spill than if just one truck crashes and has a spill. Like it's a larger volume of oil. But that is a completely worthless statistic to look at, okay, the isolated incident. You don't want to look at one isolated thing. You want to look at when we're talking about we have to transport yay many millions of barrels of oil per year. Millions of barrels of oil per year. How can we transport that with the least amount of spills? The answer is pipelines. While on individual incidents, pipelines can spill more than a truck or a rail car, they spill a lot less often, okay? And so the full picture is that pipelines are safer, significantly safer. I believe the Fraser Institute study says that they are 4.5 times safer. 400+% safer. Not just like 3%, oh maybe it's potentially safer, significantly safer, which is why people want to build the pipeline, by the way. Not just because they hate the Indians, right? The oil's already moving, people are already making money. Speaking of which, who is making money by delaying the pipeline who your favorite supervillain, George Soros, Warren Buffett, who owns stock in rail companies and trucking companies, which are inefficient, outdated modes of transportation for this substance. Who owns significant stock and interest in those two things? Well, Warren Buffett, George Soros. Who happens to be financing a bunch of liberal leftist shit? Who has to be financing a bunch of these protests? George Soros. It's no coincidence. So in case you were wondering, a big part of the money behind the Standing Rock protests is people who have interests in keeping old, outdated technologies as the monopoly on oil transport. I mean, if I worked in or owned a oil trucking transport company or an oil train transport company or anything related to that, loading it onto the trucks, doing different stuff, I would be pushing for no pipeline, right? I might even be down there at the protest or paying people down at the protest or donating to the protest, right? Because every single day that the pipeline is delayed, people like Warren Buffett and George Soros, and in addition, all the union workers for the oil transport railways and all the people working on the trucks and all these people make more money, right? As soon as the pipeline comes into play, it's going to be a more efficient way to transport the oil that's going to take less work. It's going to save lives. It's going to spill less oil. But some people are going to be making less money. So they're fighting it. That's why it's important that we actually have reason about these things and rational arguments instead of just, are you a water protector or an evil old greedy white man supporter? Which is it? Because it's not like that, okay? Get out of your ridiculous mentality. I want to protect the water too, okay? Everybody wants clean drinking water. We just have to be realistic and rational about what we're doing here. So another thing you're going to want to know that I think you're going to find quite interesting is that David Archambault, chief of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, chief, and you could arguably say kind of head voice of the Standing Rock protest. I mean, he's the chief. He's made some very much statements that lead me to believe he thinks of himself as the chief of the protest, telling protesters to go home, telling protesters to do this, asking for money, all this different stuff. And interesting to me to learn that David Archambault, who it's mind-blowing. You can find quotes of this guy lambasting fossil fuels and how they're destroying Mother Earth. David Archambault, chief of the Standing Rock Sioux, owns a gas station. He owns a gas station. The Cannonball Pit Stop and Gas Station, conveniently located right near the Standing Rock protests, where you can go fuel up before saying hi and waving a sign. David Archambault owns a gas station. Okay? This is not about the oil. It's about money. And for the Native Americans, it's about power and land as well. But I think, to be perfectly honest, more about money for them too. Which I wanted to be more skeptical of at first, but then the further you research these things, the further you look into it, the more you see that, yeah, okay, so the chief of the Standing Rock owns a gas station. Oh, and how much money did they get from these big green energy companies, these big solar companies? Oh, they got hundreds of thousands of dollars just that they disclose on the Standing Rock website in their tribal minutes. They just openly tell you that they got over $1 million worth of donations from these different companies. Oh, not to mention the tens of millions of dollars through various forms that these guys got. tens of millions of dollars. They had an Amazon wish list up of all the stuff that you could get for the Standing Rock protesters. On the list, things like Marlboro cigarettes or Camels. They specified, not just any cigarette. Money, snowmobile, pickup trucks. But yeah, their disgusting wish list of all the stuff that they wanted. Gas generators and this and that. Absolutely ridiculous. Which a lot of people bought. They also said like $500 gift cards, and the most ridiculous fucking shit to ask for, really. It's almost unbelievable to me. But there it is, and there it is. He owns a gas station. They're asking for fucking pickup trucks, and oh my god. And you guys bought it for him. You guys bought it for him because, you know, we got to protect the water. We love chants. We don't like to think. We love to chant. Protect the water. Don't dig for oil. So keep it in the soil. Fucking drain the black snake. Blah, 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 blah. You guys love to fucking chant. You don't really love to think, though, do you? You might want to just think. Next time you see people up in arms, some shit that maybe you should fucking look into it a little bit. Right? Because, you know, to be perfectly honest, all this stuff wasn't that hard to dig up. I mean, I did probably do 4 or 5 hours of reading for this presentation, but that's because I want to be really sure, I want to be really educated about it for you guys. And it wasn't necessary to get that good of a picture, though. I think about 30 minutes, and you really wrap this whole thing up, and then you can really share knowledge with people and be like, oh, well, you know, here's a little counterpoint you haven't thought about. Right, about this, about that, about this headline. Because there's just so much of it, and there's so much of what I would call, like I described earlier, worse than fake news these days, where it's either totally fucking fabricated, which at least is somewhat easier to pick out, I'd say, or it's so fucking misleading and biased and bullshit. You can trust so few news organizations these days. You really have to learn how to either find someone who's not bullshitting you, or learn for yourself how to really fucking ferret out the sources of these things. And a really good one I'd recommend, if you guys are interested at all in some of the bullshit surrounding the beginning part of the story, which I'll real quickly line out for you. Basically, the truth is that the Dakota Access Pipeline Company, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a government organization, basically, for lack government thing, responsible for a lot of stuff. And the relevant responsibility is they have control over when you start to build around big rivers. If you're going to build some stuff that's going under the river, you got to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers, basically. That's how it is. And so the Dakota Access Pipeline people were working hand in hand with with the Army Corps of Engineers in trying to do the right thing. And that's not a cop-out phrase. That is the absolute truth. They tried really hard to do the right thing. If you read the judge's decision and his writing in the original case that the Standing Rock brought against the DAPL people, you will see that he says, his opinion is like, look, they did everything right. And he goes through this very long chronicling of all the events and all the times and all the things where the Dakota Access Pipeline people or the Army Corps of Engineers got on the phone or emailed or actually went out to the Standing Rock and are like, look, let's set up a meeting. We're setting up meetings with everybody else without a problem. Why won't you guys meet with us? Please meet with us. Please meet with us. And the Standing Rock basically dicked them around. And in one instance, they'd actually seemed like they had really set up a meeting, and the pipeline people and everybody showed up to the Standing Rock tribe, and the Standing Rock people were like, oh, yeah, we actually hit that earlier in the day. We finished our meeting. Yeah, you guys got to go home. We'll do this another time. And just proceeded to continually rebuff all attempts at actual communication until right after it was really basically too late. And the project's starting, and they know that. And then they want to come in with, oh, we weren't consulted. No one asked us anything. And it's total and complete, utter bullshit. There's a reason you don't hear that from all these other tribes. It's like, oh, they didn't ask us either. I mean, some of these other tribes want to be in support or whatever, but it's only asking. No, it's just total bullshit. It's because Standing Rock is just fully lying. They're just lying bullshitters. And you want to say, oh, I don't believe that. All Native Americans shed a tear for litter, and they're all very proud, strong people. That's what the movies told me. That's what I was thinking when I donated to Standing Rock. I couldn't... David fucking Archambault, chief of the Standing Rock, owns a gas station. Wake the fuck up. Chief of the Standing Rock owns a gas station. They're fucking bullshitting you. They own a casino. They go home to their fucking teepees, except they're not teepees, they're nice fucking houses. And they fucking laugh their heads off at how stupid white people are these days, how stupid modern America is to just fucking shower them with money. They fucking laugh at you guys as he counts his gas station profits and his fucking stack of Amazon gift cards. It's fucking insane, okay? Meanwhile, George Soros and Warren Buffett make some extra fucking money every month this is delayed. And so who can fucking benefit? This fucking gas station owner and these fucking super ultra rich guys and people who work on outdated technology that we don't fucking need anymore? Get the fucking pipeline in, man. It's more efficient. It's safer. Less people die, by the way. In case you're not aware, sometimes these trains full of oil have accidents. In Canada, where almost 50 people died in one giant fucking fireball as a train derailed full of oil and boom! Yeah, pipeline's a little safer, people. There's a reason we're making a move to more advanced technology, and it's not just to fuck over the Indians. In fact, it's the other way around. Wake up. The pipeline is not on their land, okay? The protesters are not on an Indian reservation. The protesters, the criminals, are on private property. Landowners who have agreed to have the pipeline built there. Not Native Americans. Let them do their gas station fucking sleazy con bullshit. And that can be fucking plenty. A casino and a gas station is fucking plenty in my eyes. They can step off the reservation and join the rest of America. They want any more than that. Fuck these fucking handouts. Fuck this antiquated technology. Fuck trading safety and progress for people's bullshit feelings created by fucking movies. This is a con artist, people. David Archambault is a fucking con artist. You're being conned. And they have the nerve to call it environmental racism. Get a little bit more money from that white guilt. That's about all. Thank you.